What's up, guys? Welcome back to a new episode of Out of the Park Baseball 26, where we are turning the Pirates into a multi-year dynasty. I have to adjust my intros now because obviously this most recent season our Pirates won the World Series, so we have successfully rebuilt the Pirates in our image here to great success. Now we are trying to sustain that success over a long period of time. Today's episode will kind of set the foundation for that as we look to finish out the 2030 offseason together. So we've got open free agency, international free agency, the Rule 5 draft, and Hall of Fame results all on the agenda for today. So we're going to move through this pretty quickly once we decide what we're going to do. We have a large chunk of change to play with here, $46.8 million of available budget. We'll see if we end up spending all of that or not. Fan interest is at an all-time high of 97, although I expect that to drop a little bit. And, I just, before we get started, I have, some stuff written down here we need to cover. I just wanted to, thank you for continuing to return to these videos. I know we made it to the World Series already and kind of achieved the goal of this, playlist of this series that I made. Once that's behind us, I would expect viewership to drop off. But, I'm glad that you're still showing interest in these years following that. So appreciate you sticking with me. And that last video I know was pretty long as well once we decided to dive into the stats, combining that with our strategy moving forward. It just got a little long, so I'll try to be more mindful of that moving forward. I think today should be pretty quick as there is a lot of dead air in between just waiting for contract feedback with players and all of that. I don't know that we're going to be making many decisions on camera today. But let's kind of, turn our attention to news that has happened. I've simulated up to the filing date in between episodes. We got, as expected, Nick Gonzalez and Hunter Green both declined the qualifying offers to hit open free agency. And, that's kind of what we expected from both of them. So hopefully we get some draft capital in return. We have international free agents entering the market, and the headline of the whole class, I would say, is Paul Skeens. Paul Skeens is a 28-year-old pitcher. I'll show you everyone available. Paul Skeens and Jackson Holliday both here at their mid-20s. I think they are the prized possessions of the offseason. Corbin Carroll is here as well, and there are actually some notable international free agents for once here that are pretty formidable. We've kind of had middling IFA classes. Or not IFA, but just I guess it is IFA, international free agents. I'm thinking of international amateur free agency, IAFA. But anyway, we've had sort of middling classes so far throughout the sim. There are several really talented players in this one, starting with Aito Toda, the third baseman, nicknamed Babe Ruth's legs, is a generational lefty power hitter out of Japan. Is definitely going to strike out, but you kind of like his profile. Everything looks really solid. He wants a huge paycheck. I don't know that he fits our team needs, so whoever gets him is going to be, very grateful that he chooses them at 29. They're kind of jumping in right at his prime, and he's not alone. There is another really big-time player here, Jose Mojica, from Cuba. The 30-year-old right field power bat looks, equally scary. Maybe doesn't have quite the gap power in the eye as the Japanese third baseman, but has a little more contact tool and good work ethic, low baseball IQ. Also can play first base, can play the infield. He's got 55 infield range and good error and arm there. But, we just have an average scouting accuracy on him. We'll kind of see if that turns out to be accurate or not. Also seeking 30.5 mils. So really, really loaded free agency class. There's Wu Shun Sun, who is also from, Chinese Taipei here. So 27 years old, durable player, wants 30 mil, also has that really, really high gap power, although we are less confident in our evaluation of him, and maybe not the best personality given this teaser of lacking drive and being thick-headed. So I've already sort of taken a look at the free agents available. I haven't offered any contracts yet, but I've kind of identified a few targets that might make sense for our team this year. So let's kind of dive into those and I'll show you what I'm thinking. And we'll go ahead and get started with the batters here. I sort of alluded to many of these names earlier, but you can see in terms of just top talent on the market, there's Corbin Carroll and Jackson Holliday both demanding 50 plus mil AAV on their contracts. I mean, at 70 graded talents, I think they are worth all of that. Jackson Holliday, of course, coming off of the torn labrum, so a little bit of a risk there bringing him on with the injury, but I think, both quality players. Riley Green is here as well, along with C.J. Abrams in kind of the 60 grade tier, and then we dip down into the 55s where we get the Martian, Jason Dominguez. Nick Gonzalez is our guy there, looking for 28.5, as well as Alejandro Kirk. Woo-Shun Sun, the outfielder we just looked at. Kyle Tucker is here as well, looking for 18 mil. So, I don't know that offense is really our need. I kind of searched through a lot of these 50 grade players and came away kind of unimpressed. Ezekiel Tovar is here as well. He is maybe the most intriguing, as he is still just 29 at this point and provides plus defense up the middle, but it's not a tremendous need for us up the middle defense. We have Pena and we have Sanford. So I don't think we need anything there. If I'm thinking about needs on the offensive end, it's obviously right-handed batters. And we're currently, slotted for, I'll pop to our lineup here. This is kind of a hypothetical how we would line up situation where Lantigua is DHing and Severino is at first base. He's coming off of a really, good year for us. So that's sort of maybe the weak link you could identify is Severino, but we're trying to keep the left-right balance in check here, not be too lefty-heavy. This is how we have it structured currently, but I guess what I'm getting at is you could potentially swap out Severino for somebody else who can play first. Carson Benj can play first, so he could slot down and you could get a right fielder. Basically, we're looking for a righty bat that would be more beneficial to us than Severino. But Severino's no slouch. He's decent against right-handed pitching and really good against left. So, if that materializes on the market, maybe we look to attack. I think the only player here that meets that criteria is Jose Mojica, the 30-year-old Cuban outfielder that we looked at earlier. He's kind of out of the box, ready-made. I don't know that we would sign him to a long deal. If we could just get him on a 1-year deal with maybe some options afterwards, I think that would be ideal. It seems like it's going to be a long shot though, so I don't know that we will, we're doing due diligence on him, we're scouting him, but I don't know that we're going to be looking to play in any of this batting market. But I think there's a lot for us to look forward to in terms of pitchers. On the pitching front, there are a couple of interesting names. We have this table sorted for starters, so you can see there's a clear number one player here. That is Paul Skeens, seeking a eye-watering $61 million. If we just, offered him a deal, this is what he's coming to the table with right now. He is seeking $610 million over 10 years. So that's out of our budget. It would be hilarious to bring him back now, given we traded him away, but there's just no way. There's absolutely no shot we're doing that. These other guys are demanding big money too. So Ben Brown wants 43.2. He's looking good at just 31 years old. Dustin May is seeking close to 30 mil as well. We kind of need a number two starter, like a number two or a number three starter, somebody who we feel really good about. And, within reason, I don't want to be paying multi-year contracts upwards of 30 mil to guys. I kind of am more willing to play in this, sub 20 mil range. So there are a couple players here who I've highlighted. There's not a ton of talent on the pitching market in general, but I sort of like these three guys. There's Garrett Cole here, Matthew Boyd. I'm not really down to sign a 40-year-old, but I think Reed Detmers could be interesting. All of these pitchers are lefties as well, so something we don't currently have in our rotation. Reed is coming off of a 4.7 WAR season in Toronto, where he only pitched 154 innings, so kind of stamina is the question with him, but seems really well-rounded. I don't think the fly ball tendency is that big of a problem in our park, where it's more difficult for right-handed batters to hit home runs. So I think he could see good success with us. It just kind of depends on what his demands ends up being, and if it's a competitive market or not. We're scouting all of these players to try to get more clarity on them. Braxton Garrett is somewhat similar. Definitely like a little more risky, him being fragile, but he's a full kitchen sink kind of guy. Tons of pitches, good movement, better stamina, and a good clubhouse personality as well. Coming off a 2.8 WAR season in Vegas, he's had back-to-back years of really strong play there. 3.2 WAR the year prior, and he's pitching regularly. He's gotten a lot of starts there, 33 both years. So a little, it's none of these guys are really all that exciting. So it's kind of like I'm trying to see who would accept kind of a Band-Aid deal where it's like a 1+1. Like, we just lock them in for next season. Maybe there's an option year after that, or 2 option years even. Just kind of looking for somebody willing to accept a short-term deal. And Jesus Luzardo is kind of the other guy I'm looking at here. He has experienced a little more injury. He's not fragile yet, but I think he's, approaching that status. Last year, just 125 innings pitched for a 1.3 WAR in San Francisco. The year prior, though, 4.3 WAR, 4.0 WAR the year prior to that in Toronto. So 2 really strong years, and then last year kind of got bit by the injury bug. So if he's looking for kind of a bounce back deal, I think that could make sense. Don't love that he has the splitter at just a 25 grade down there. If we were to sign him, I may just delete that off of his profile, just tell him to scrap it. But this is sort of what he's looking like. It just kind of depends. I don't think we're because I'm trying to script out the money that we're going to spend. We have 46 available currently. If we spend 15 in the bullpen and 15 on a starter, that's putting us at 30 mil. We could stretch it a little bit more, but I don't know that any of these top end guys are really worth it because they're all wanting really, really big money. And again, we're just kind of looking for like a very short term commitment here. So let's bump over to relievers. I'll show you what's available there. Here's our look at relievers. There are no marquee names on the free agent list this season. No Mason Millers, no one like that is commanding like $15 million. But there are several 50 grade guys who I think could make sense for us. I've highlighted a few, and I think the one I'm most keen to bring on would be Brian Hudson as a late inning, like leverage setup lefty. I think he provides more upside than someone like Tyler Holton or Jojo Romero could. He doesn't have the best stamina, but he's used to pitching leverage, and I think from a ratings perspective on paper, he is really effective against both sides at getting that swing and miss, inducing soft contact with the BABIP. I think he is the best available leverage lefty. There is Aaron Bummer's here as well, but he's really old. Jose Alvarado's here. I don't quite like him as much as I like Hudson, who is 2 years younger. So I think I would favor Hudson for lefty. There are several righties here. First, Orion Kirkring makes another appearance here. His demand has dropped to 2.6, so if we can get back in there and try to bring him on for, something close to 3 mil, I would be willing to do that. It does say he's extremely hard to sign, so to be determined if that's going to be effective for us or not. Emmanuel Clase is here again, seeking just, 4.7. I think he could make sense as a setup man for us. Again, not the best stamina, but kind of like his, ability to limit home runs, and think he could be good and steady in that role for us. So he could be interesting. Andres Munoz, in a similar vein, is a little bit younger, brings a little bit more stamina, but is maybe less effective against left-handed batters. So it's kind of, I could see potentially this becoming an issue with him. So we've requested scouting reports on all of these guys. I think, we're not going to make any free agency offers now. I'm going to get information back on all the players we've talked about, both hitters and pitchers, and then kind of let you know what I end up deciding to do as I decide to do it. But there are, more guys down here who I've scouted in the 45 range, like Franco Aleman could be interesting. He's never really gotten an extended shot at the majors, but on paper he looks pretty well balanced against both sides, has good movement, and, Robert Garcia, if we wanted another left-handed option, there are more guys down here like Carson Wisenhunt, who I've looked at as well. So That's what the market looks like. I don't, again, think there are any moves for us to make right now. I'm going to just kind of slow play it. And once I get scouting reports back, mainly on the relievers, I would like to lock those up first, and then we can kind of pivot our attention to starters. And then if there's any money left over, maybe we can try to find a batter that makes sense. So I'm going to get moving here, advance. We're on November 25th. Maybe the next time you hear from me will be the winter meetings on the 12th. And we're sitting here on December 12th. It is the start of the winter meetings. We haven't really made any major waves yet. A couple of contracts have been signed around the league that are pretty notable, but the only offer that we have made is to Brian Hudson, who favors it at the moment. It says it's the best offer he's received. We've gotten a bunch of our scouting reports back on players, and I hate to say it, but I'm not impressed with anyone that we were looking at outside of Brian Hudson. So I've had to resort to alternate measures. Of course, the draft lottery was also announced, as it is, winter meetings. We're obviously going to pick last. We have the best record in all of baseball, but this is how things are looking at the top of the lottery. But I've decided to go different means. I have decided to look at the trade block. A number of players have been added here over, the couple of weeks we simulated forward, and I found 2 deals that I'm looking to execute here on the first day of winter meetings. So if we think about our needs, we're looking to attack pitching, right? So if we sort by pitchers here, Gregory Santos is here. Edwin Diaz is here. Ryan Walker is here for thinking about relievers, right? Who on this can function at the back end of our bullpen. I was looking at Gregory Santos, and I was about to work a deal for him. I was in the process of scouting him, and I was simulating through, and then I saw that literally the next day he signed an extension with Toronto. So this makes me think that they do not wish to trade him. So I ended up backing out of that. And instead, I think we're going to look at Edwin Diaz. Ryan Walker is a side armor. I'm not really in favor of that. Edwin Diaz is in the final year of his $22.2 million contract. He is now age 36, still searching for that ever-elusive World Series, so you can think that he is possibly ring-chasing at this point. He still has good stamina and velo despite the age, and I like the movement, I like the control, I like the stuff. He's been a positive player the last couple of seasons in Cleveland, and on paper he projects to be pretty effective against right-handed batters. So the combination of having him and Hudson as setup men appeals to me. And, given he's on and expiring and he's 36, I think we can swoop in and grab him at a good price. So I'll show you the deal in a moment, but I also want to touch on the starter we're going to go after. We're tapping this market for a starter as well. There are several interesting names here. There's Chris Bubich, Robert Gasser, Nick Lodolo, all lefty starters, all pretty good. So, I was looking at Bubich, and he's a ground ball pitcher throwing low to mid 90s. He's 33. He looks, pretty solid, very good stamina, good at holding runners, positive player the last couple of years in Miami. The only downside with him is that he's locked into a multi-year deal at $32.5 million, which is a little pricey for what I'm looking out of this role. I kind of just want, like I mentioned earlier, a Band-Aid solution. So in order to get Miami to cover part of this salary and trade him away, it's a little more expensive than I'm willing to pay. So I think the other options are better for us, Lodolo and Gasser. So Lodolo, is a little bit more of a soft tosser. We honestly tried to sign him in free agency several years ago in the sim, if you remember. Is a 4.4 WAR player for Texas, is coming off a career year where his whip was sub 1. He's really a control artist, and he's on the final year of a $26.8 million deal, but 60% of it is already being retained by Detroit. So it's a really favorable contract. It's not too bad to go out and acquire. It's definitely possible for they're not looking for a huge return in order for the rental, in exchange for the rental. So he is an option, but he's not the one I'm deciding to go for. I'm deciding to go for Robert Gasser instead, who is a year younger and has more movement, strikeout upside. He's throwing harder. He has less stamina, but he's throwing harder. He's got more, swing and miss in his game. He is a, positive WAR player, has been for the last several years, started 34 games last season. He's remained healthy the last 3 years despite being fragile. I think a lot of his injury comes from like very early career Tommy John and UCL troubles, but in recent years he's been overall pretty good with just finger blisters. So, I like that he is positive against both sides and appears at least to be, slightly better at limiting home runs as opposed to Lodolo. I'll jump back and show you Lodolo's splits. You can see he's a little more vulnerable to homers against right-handed batters. So we're ultimately going to execute trades for both Gasser and, like I mentioned, Edwin Diaz. And I've got those trades already pending here, so I'll go ahead and show you what we're thinking. So we'll go ahead and do the Diaz one first. If we discuss this deal, we are asking them to cover 50% of his salary, so we will only be on the books for 11.1 mil, leaving us 32.2 remaining. In exchange, we don't have to give up much. We're giving up Rubens Romero, who is a 23-and-a-half-year-old starting pitching prospect for us. Good personality. Not really sure, where he came from originally. I think he's a real player. Yeah, he is. So he's finally come along. He's like borderline major league caliber, but kind of just looks like a 4A player to me. The real return for them is Jonathan Valle, the Dominican 18-year-old starting pitcher, has only gotten 1 year of action for us in the DSL, but overall looked really solid, is a finesse pitcher with good stamina. Not the best velo, but you think he can have plus movement and decent control, good pitch mix, kind of a kitchen sink guy. Ultimately, we see him with a 55 grade. This is kind of the big piece for them in return, but he is, very, very far away from making any sort of major league impact. So we're going to go ahead and bring on Edwin Diaz in his, ring chasing years here. He is a well-known player, not super popular, but we're going to kind of, bring him in as a back-end righty, and I think it'll be overall a net positive for our team. So we will complete this trade, and we get an achievement for trading for an all-star. Very cool. So we will kind of manage that in a bit. It looks like, well, do we have any comment here on the team? It appears like no. No comment, no fan impact, but, like I mentioned, I think it's positive for us, obviously. And the Robert Gasser deal. So let's go ahead and discuss this too. This is the most trade action we've had in a while in the series. So I think it's exciting. So Robert Gasser is in his final arbitration season here at 8.9 mil. So he's a rental, 31 and a half. Pretty well proven pitcher to this point. I'd say a career WAR of 8.1 and has had 3 consecutive really strong seasons. So, it's not going to be cheap. Toronto was awful last year. They are a very high team in the lottery this year, so I think they're kind of looking to clear out any value they have and kind of bottom out and rebuild. They're set to rebuilding, so they're moving on from Gasser. We're actually giving them a really good piece here. Edward Florentino is a player who I've been trying to fit into the major leagues for going on like 2 seasons now. He's been at AAA since 2029, has been a positive player for us there. He's kind of a corner outfield, first base type, lefty hitter, 6'4", 205. We think there's plus power there. But he's just so blocked on our team. He wouldn't have factored for us this season, and he would just continue to be unhappy in the major. So we're going to give him a fresh start in Toronto, north of the border. And we are also throwing in Daryl Morrell, who is kind of a utility player, good personality, has a good arm. You think the bat is fringe major league capable at 23. He's likely just a 4A player, but you never know. At AA, he actually had a great year of 3.1 WAR, but I think he was maybe playing above playing at a level below where he needed to be possibly. So we're giving them 2 good players. I'm not sure. Maybe Morrell is a real guy. Kind of unclear, but we're we're going to give them, 2 solid pieces. They are not retaining any of Gasser's deal. We're taking on all of it, which will leave us with $24.1 million left to spend on the rest of our bullpen and then funnel back into player development. So we're going to go ahead and complete this deal to bring on Robert Gasser. And there we go. We have bolstered our team. We're a better team now. I said that to the press, and we've added several pieces to the puzzle now with Gasser and Diaz. So I'm going to keep things moving here. We don't have any other contracts out in market apart from, like I mentioned, the Brian Hudson deal. We offered 2 years, $7 million. Second year is a team option. So we'll keep moving along here toward the Rule 5 draft. Next we check in will probably be around that time where we will add new players to our roster and see if we want to make any selections. But overall, happy with our trade moves here. Okay, guys, going to jump in here on December 23rd with a quick update. It is Rule 5 draft day, and I've actually already completed the Rule 5 draft. I just recorded a session of me doing it, and then I realized that it was a 10-minute long segment of us doing absolutely nothing, so I decided to scrap it. Basically, we made no selections in the Rule 5 draft. Our 40-man is not full or anything. We have 36 players. We still have a couple of pending free agent contracts in market, but I was not wowed by anyone in the pool. I didn't like any of the players available, so we ended up passing on our selection. And, I also, prior to the Rule 5 draft, cleared out a lot of players from our 40-man. We waived and DFA'd guys, at the beginning of the offseason, and I sort of cleaned it up further. So we only lost one player, and you'll laugh at who it is, but it is Dean Curley. He gets selected by Tampa. He actually went in the first round of the Rule 5. So Dean is getting a fresh start in Florida. Hopefully he can find playing time there. I'm always rooting for his success. It's just that he never was able to get a spot for us. So, that's the only loss. Overall, the Rule 5 is pretty uneventful these days. Our roster is very talented, so it's hard to fit those kind of fringe major leaguers in. But next on the calendar, we have international free agency and Hall of Fame voting. So we're going to keep pushing through. I think if anyone, like I mentioned, I have some contracts out. I don't want to spoil who those players are, but hopefully we get news on that front. We're still looking to fill in our bullpen. As you can see, we have 6 guys in there currently. Maybe we look to add 2 to 3 more arms just for depth. So I'll be back in a couple of days of game time as we approach IAFA signing. All right, guys, fast forward ahead to January 15th. Several weeks of game time has passed and a lot has developed here. But first, I want to show you the Hall of Fame voting results. Obviously, Justin Verlander is going to make it on his first year on the ballot. Nearly a unanimous vote, 99.1%. Adam Wainwright also makes it in his third year. So finally gets in there, over 2,600 total innings pitched for him. Huge, massive career, 411 starts, extremely popular player. He makes it in. A couple of players dropped, Jimmy Rollins, Chase Utley, a couple of Phillies there. So no one else really all that close. Joey Votto inching up to 61%, but only 2 inductees this season. So I'll recap you on the news first, and then we'll get to international amateur free agency as well at the end of this segment. But, we were last at the Rule 5, and we mentioned that we had some contracts out in open market. And one of those was to bring back Orion Kerkering, our, friend who we ended up, cutting loose at the beginning of the offseason. He was originally scheduled to make $4.5 million. We declined that team option, and we instead re-signed him to a $3.3 million contract. So basically, we just gave him another guaranteed year, and we knocked off like $1 million from his salary, 1.15 off of his salary to bring him back. So I think he just kind of slides back into a middle relief role for us. I don't know that he is a super high leverage closer or anything like that. Maybe that dream is gone, but I think he can provide steady middle relief. And, I like his stamina, ground ball tendencies, I think will play well. So we brought him on. We really made a number of bullpen additions here. Brian Hudson finally signed with us, 3.5 a year over the next 2 seasons. He's 33, has a bit less stamina, but a lot more stuff and movement that you think would play really well. He had 80 innings in Tampa last year, 76 the year before, so he's kind of been a Chad innings eater, and he's really effective against both sides, so he will definitely be a setup high leverage pitcher for us. Only guaranteed on a single year deal, but we do have a team option for next season should we choose to bring him back at just 3.5 mil. I think this is a big time steal for us. I'm surprised there wasn't more demand for him on the open market, but we add the 6'8 lefty to the back end of our bullpen, and we were not done there. Our owner comes in, he just reminds us that we have the same budget, no pay raise here in the preseason, but Hunter Green finally decides to sign a contract elsewhere. Everyone is kind of disappointed, both the fans and the clubhouse. He was a captain personality, so it hurts to see him go, but we QO'd him and we get a supplemental first-round pick in return for him. How about that? So we are, back at it again with double first-round picks. Really, really exciting. He goes to the Tigers. We'll kind of do a full league free agency recap at the end of this where I'll highlight any notable signings, but he signs a 4-year, $54.5 million fully guaranteed deal where he's promised to be a starting pitcher. I'm sure he will do well in Detroit given his profile, so I think a smart move for him overall, and we will, pocket the pick. But I mentioned we weren't done with bullpen signings. Antoine Kelly is a player I've had my eye on for several seasons now. He's seemingly always available in free agency, but he's just 27, only 22 days of major league service time, and he is very much like a fringe reliever, but should anything happen to our primary guys, I think he's a good option to bring up because he still has 2 option years remaining. We signed him for just $940K. So as a right-handed reliever with decent movement, I think he can profile as a middle relief arm for us. He's probably one of the first guys we call up if he doesn't end up, making the roster out of spring training. I just like the flexibility he has, and we added actually one more as well, Cole Sands. I couldn't resist adding one more. So Cole Sands is, at this point 33 and fragile, but still has decent stamina, good at holding runners, great control, movement on his pitches. Was actually the closer last season in San Diego, had 33 saves, and overall played really well. So, I think he could be a setup arm for us should anything happen, at the very least middle relief. So, at his price point, I felt it makes sense to bring him on board, just 2.4 mil, same structure as Brian Hudson as well. We have an option next season if we want to bring him back. So we've really filled out our pitching staff, and I've sort of mocked how things may look heading into next season. Obviously, there will be some roster cutdowns. I think we're not likely to carry all of these guys, obviously, but we will likely kick out Antoine Kelly and maybe even Matt Brash. I don't know that I'm willing to commit to Matt Brash making the team, but it may be something like Cole Sands down in middle relief, backup as setup, and it could be Kirkring, JoJo, Sands here. Kelly and Brash are down in AAA. This is the 3 guys we have on the back end. We could swap Diaz with Mateo and let Diaz close out the games. We'll kind of just see how Mateo looks early in the season. And then, I don't think Zane Petty factors for us. We'll likely go with Tyler August in long relief and then Ben Abelt as lefty specialist. So I think our pen is a lot stronger and a lot deeper this season as well. So, I like the addition of Kelly and Sands to just, safeguard against any potential injuries. We did end up getting another bit of notable news. Cole Klecker returned from injury. He had, you'll notice he's on Kansas City, but he's coming off a partially torn UCL, which, he actually had one setback with, so his recovery was quite long, 10 to 11 months. We re-scouted him after he came back from injury, and his stamina dropped from 45 to 30, so a 15-point drop in stamina. And we're having sort of a 40-man roster crunch. I didn't want to, carry him really at his current ratings. I just didn't see it, so we waived and DFA'd him. Kansas City likes him still. I think maybe they're operating on an older scouting report or something. They don't have the full knowledge of him post-injury, but now he's fragile as well. Felt like we could cut him loose, so end of an era for Cole Klecker. He got some playoff innings for us 2 seasons ago, but was unable to contribute in the most recent season. So that's quite a bit of news that has happened. I think we're pretty much done on the free agent front now. I don't anticipate us adding any more players. I'm going to, between now and spring training, fill out our minor league system with, depth across all levels, but that will be, boring stuff I'll do off camera. I think as far as the major league team goes, we are set and good to go. So let's dive into IAFA free agency, and I'll show you what I'm thinking here. Okay, so international free agency, if I had to sort of give my high-level take here, I don't think it is a very deep class. There are fewer 80 and 70 grade talents in the class than maybe we've seen previously, and there are several players that have just like red flags, or players who I didn't like their profile. I'm really only considering a few options here, and we ended up scouting some guys further down the board as well, based on good personalities or having super low demands. But I've really kind of zeroed in on a single player that I'm looking to target here. I guess it is worth noting that this is one of the first years, I'm pretty sure the first year, where we are limited to just 5.28 mil in available money. We were previously operating at 5.8, and I guess we're doing better as a franchise, so now we are in this kind of next tier of 5.28. So still a bit more than about half the league, but not as much as the top end teams. But of course we do play with uncapped money, so if the bidding gets competitive, we can go over slot, but I think we're going to look to come in strong and just lock up a single player this class. That's usually how I like to play it. I don't like to spray the board too much, and I think this player that I'm looking at warrants all the money we have in our available budget. So we'll kind of go with that option first, and if that's unsuccessful, then we can pivot to other choices. But I'll show you kind of the top end players here that are interesting. Jesus Romero is a 70 grade switch hitting infielder, classified as a shortstop now, though you don't really think he would ever stick there long term. Likely just a second baseman, but good work ethic, adaptability, fairly young, definitely a good player. Just when you compare him to other players in the class, he's pretty far away and not a tremendous fielder. Orlando Vargas is the second best pitcher in the class in my mind. The Swamp Fox is a 6'4" right-hander who throws mid-90s, good work ethic and IQ, good stamina, and decent at holding runners with a medium dev risk. So, there is a lot to like here. He profiles as having plus control, just kind of a normal pitcher archetype, but the changeup is a little below average there, which could be dangerous. I could see him giving up a bunch of home runs potentially, even though he does profile to have plus movement. The control will help, but the stuff starting at just a 20 is a little bit rough there, and his pitches have a long way to go. So he's not my favorite pitcher. My favorite pitcher is this next player, Jesus Perez, and this is the player I would, go for as a number 2 option if I was, if I was ranking all of these prospects. This would be my number 2. He's a 17-year-old lefty, 5'10", 160, so just kind of a little short king, but mid to upper 90s ground baller, good adaptability. He's already very far along. He's already a 30 grade. The stuff is already playing at 40. So for a 17-year-old to already be that far along is really impressive. The changeup is only a 20, but we think there's 65 upside there. So there's plus upside with all of his pitches, control and movement. Just a lot to like here. But, extreme dev risk is maybe the single, hole you could poke in his game. But for a left-handed 17-year-old starting pitcher, he seems overall, pretty safe. So I would go after him if we're not able to get our top guy. And the top guy is at the top of the list here, who I'll show you in a sec, but I'll show you these two other ones. Arturo Munoz is very appealing. He has like almost a flawless personality with good work ethic and IQ. Decent stealing, really plus power, fringe contact, extreme dev risk. So, there's a bit of give and take. He has a great personality, but, the contact is pretty limited. He's a right-handed shortstop with just a 35 grade there, not very much range, so not really a good fielder, but could potentially play the outfield, and, with that power, could profile as a corner outfielder potentially. So, not my favorite, but also not bad either. Julio Gutierrez is, probably the second best position player, I would say. He appears to be very far along. He is a bit older, 17, but a decent left-handed corner outfielder nicknamed Big Jack. So projects to have plus power, but also, above average contact as well. I just think we sort of went so outfield heavy in our most recent draft, getting Kung Fu Panda and Wyatt as well, that another outfielder in that same age range maybe feels a little redundant. So that's why I'm not going after Julio Gutierrez. The player I'm choosing to pursue is going to be Alexis Braina. His name is just Jason, so I kind of, if any horror fans out there, I guess we'll call him Jason. He's also a 17-year-old position player, so a little bit older than some of the other guys, and we think he's very far along. He already has two 40-grade attributes here. And, while the power may never be home run power, the gap power projecting at 85 would certainly play well in our park with the plus contact and the eye. But what I really like about him is the speed at 75, and you think he has plus range out of the box. So this is someone I could see growing into a full-time shortstop with the good leader and work ethic. I think this is a home run pick. We have very high accuracy on him, just a medium dev risk, and if we look at his ratings as they relate to Dominican Rookie League, he's like an all-star caliber player. That's what I'm saying. He's so far along that he can be fast-tracked. I think he's going to dominate at the DSL with these ratings, and we could start him out in the Florida Complex League as well, even potentially. I don't know that I even want to commit to that, but we may do DSL for the first year, and then he's bumped up to A-ball or something afterward. But he could play at Florida Complex right away. For a 17-year-old, that's really impressive and rare to find. He's got so many attributes, close to 40 already, so we're going to go after him. And given we have 5.28 mil, I think I'm just going to try to avoid a bidding war here. Complex is full again. I should have checked that before we got started. My apologies, guys. Let me clear this out. Just go in here, and I will just delete all of these players with 30 potential. Not delete, but, release them. I still need to promote guys up to the DSL. We'll go back into here. And as I was saying, I think we just want to come in super strong and bring in the guy if we can. I don't want to get into a bidding war and lose. So we'll just go, how much do we have? We have, I'm offering the full bonus pool because I think this may be our chance at a generational shortstop. We haven't really found that yet in our system. We're still kind of searching for like a middle infielder of the future, somebody who can take over for Wyatt Sanford and Elian Pena after they presumably move on to the back half of their career. So maybe Alexis Braina is that guy. Jason can come in and make a name for us. For himself here. So we're going to, I'm just double checking I have all of this correct, offer the full bonus pool, and hopefully he accepts it. So we've had success in the last few years with that. We got Javi Ruiz using the strategy. We also got I want to say Hernandez is his last name, or am I misremembering? Mario Hernandez with this strategy last season as well, who, still profiles to be a very, plus player for us. So hopefully this pays off. I'm going to, like I mentioned, continue filling out our minor league depth in the coming days. And next time you hear from me will possibly be the start of spring training where, hopefully this Brainiac contract is resolved by then, and we can get to DevLab results and end the episode there. Alright guys, we are finally here. We're nearing the end of the video. DevLab results are on the way. We are at the first day of spring training. As you know, we have to simulate one game and then we get to see the results, but I want to recap you all on a bunch of news that has happened and kind of show you the roster we're bringing into spring as well. So when we were negotiating with our international free agent target, Alexis Brainiac, you can see we locked him up, which is awesome. Like, it's already a spoiler that we locked him up, but we actually got into an unfortunate bidding war with Milwaukee. And I was not really willing to lose Alexis Brainiac. I felt that he was potentially a generational player, given his starting point, his floor, and his relative ceiling, being plus at pretty much every attribute. I was not willing to lose him, so we went sort of all out for Jason and ended up paying $7 million for him. So he came back to us. We offered our full 5.2 off the rip. He sought better market value, found that with Milwaukee. They had offered him 6.8, so we came in at a flat 7, and that was enough to get him to sign with our Pirates. Obviously, one of the more expensive free agents we have ever brought on, so you hope that he can pan out for us. But we're starting him off in the DSL straight away, where he is immediately a 60 grade player. And at 17 years old, we're going to look to fast track him to the majors as quickly as we can. He's already decently far along, so I'm really excited at the prospect of bringing him into the org. I don't think there was anyone else nearly touching his bonus demand in terms of multi-million dollar. Actually, there was a first baseman, Julio Gutierrez, an 80 grade first baseman, actually got paid quite a bit more, so 7.4. Just goes to show you he actually does look quite good. I don't know why he was not on my initial radar, but Big Jack. We talked about Big Jack, but I guess they pivoted him to first base. I had originally thought of him as an outfielder. So he ends up actually going to KC for 7.4. That actually shows you how crazy this uncapped bidding can get, but I don't think anyone else, at least when I had looked earlier, signed for much more. There's our Brainiac contract at $7 million. So, we paid a pretty penny, but I think we got one of the better players in the class, and, I'm happy with it. So that was our move. We got our guy. We also lose Nick Gonzalez, and the fans are devastated. Interest almost crashes. But this contract Nick Gonzalez signed, we get another first-round pick, by the way, so that is 2 supplemental firsts. So now we have 3 picks in the first round. Nick Gonzalez is actually going to be the face of the franchise in Vegas, and he actually is wrecked now. I don't know when I guess that continues to develop even when they're not playing games, but he'll be the new captain in Vegas, and he signed one of the most expensive deals in MLB history. It's fully guaranteed $53 million a season, so he's being paid more annual value than Juan Soto, and he gets a nice little all-star bonus of $94K, which is just a drop in the bucket of his annual contract, but 4 years, fully guaranteed, $212 million to go to Vegas. We were obviously never going to pay that, but he'll be a very good player for them as long as he can stay on the field. But, we cash in on the supplemental pick, so I'll show you what that looks like in the draft order. Obviously, we will pick near last in the first round, 38th. But, we'll be right back on the clock with 2 additional picks. So, about $3 million per pick. We're going to have to allocate more money to the draft pool, because if we were to just go slot value with these, that's $9 million in total. And then obviously you have, the second round pick, third round pick after that. So I've sort of already budgeted for that. Fan interest did not crash by that much due to Nick Gonzalez leaving. It was a -2. We were originally at 97. We bumped down to 95. And we're still able to increase ticket prices by 15% and see positive estimates across several categories here. So it's going to be a big step up in our finances this season. We hopefully can keep the ball rolling, climbing out of the bottom third in budget and payroll slowly but surely. As you can see, we've allocated a whopping $35 million to player dev this season, a $10 million increase year over year, keeping our scouting budget consistent at 15, and I'm also holding 18 mil for draft expenses. So 2 mil more than last season where we had 2 first round picks, a little bit more in the tank in case we need, but you never know if just depends who's on the board and what they're demanding. But that's kind of the strategy right now. We're holding 2 mil in available cash in case we need to make acquisitions or moves, or if God forbid we're awful and ticket sales plummet, we'll have a little bit of buffer on our balance sheet. But that is the update with the team. I'll briefly show you who we're bringing into spring training. There are a bunch of non-40 invites. We're going 25-25, so we have a ton of pitchers here. We're doing heavily capped pitch counts to hopefully limit everyone's exposure, and we're trying a lot of our unproven guys, but everyone in the rotation, BB Gasser as our 2 starter, our new pitcher who we just acquired. We'll push him into a big-time role with us, but then we go Jones, McElroy, Burrows, August. In the bullpen, we're bringing in Bill Zimmerman, our young, prospective, high-leverage reliever, just 21 years old. Cole Sands is here. Christian St. Paul makes an appearance. We acquired him, if you'll remember, in the Joey Giles deal just prior to the deadline. So the 24-year-old hard-throwing righty will appear for us in spring training. We're also bringing a bunch of kind of long relief options. We have Tony Granger making his pro debut in a sense, just as a non-40 invite at 23. Just kind of want to throw him out there, see if he can get any good development. Don't really expect him to do major things, but excited to see him pitch at AAA this season. Jason Solis is here as well, 24 years old now. Kind of looking borderline reliever-esque, our former second-round pick. You never know if he can, fully realize the potential we thought we saw in him. A couple of other guys, Dave Ipoc, 14th round pick in 2029, has turned into an intriguing lefty reliever for us. So, should he tap into a little more movement, I think, maybe there's a role for him, but at 24, you don't know if he'll be able to discover that or not. So, full pitching staff here. Lineup-wise, we're bringing several catchers in, just kind of trying to give everyone, adequate off days here. So Zach Hammer will make an appearance. A couple of our, we've totally revamped the middle infielders on our 40-man roster, so a ton of new faces here for organizational depth. In the outfield is where the real exciting players are. We obviously have Phil Goodall here, our, plus field center fielder who has good gap power. He'll be here at 22. We also, of course, have top 10 prospect, I believe, number 5, Ben Small here, getting at-bats at just 21 years old. Likely a September call-up, definitely going to factor for us long-term. Not sure if he's quite ready, but looking forward to seeing what he can do for us in spring. And we have another exciting outfielder here too. Seth Weinberger has sort of always been flying under the radar. He's an 11th round pick in 2027. Profiles as kind of a contact forward kind of guy, but you think there's a little more power in the bat. If he can unlock that, he will be a force, because when I look at his ratings, I want you to brace yourself. He is a lefty feaster. Look at how he hits left-handed pitching. This is ratings relative to the MLB, mind you. So, he's certainly a role player in our organization moving forward. This kind of caught me by surprise at just how effective he is against left-handed pitching. So, at just 21 and a half, almost 22, he's never played at AAA. We're going to get him run at AAA just to get some more seasoning and, hopefully we can clear some space for him to factor for us in some capacity in the near future. But he's also a very exciting outfielder to watch. So, we're definitely loaded. But otherwise, we're rocking with our standard lineups. Wyatt Sanford is fully back, and there's a lot to be excited about. But let's go ahead and get to major free agent signings. I'm going to make you wait just a bit longer before we do Dev Lab results. I'm going to recap some major signings around the league. Okay, we're going to speed through this, hopefully not going to dive too deeply, but I just want you to know that Corbin Carroll is on the Dodgers. Diamondback fans, avert your eyes. He has signed a 7-year, $45 million annual deal to join the Dodgers. Ben Brown will take Paul Skeens' place in New York for the Mets, as Paul Skeens is headed to Philadelphia on a big 7-year, $337 million deal. So Skeens, coming off of a Cy Young award-winning season, is guaranteed for 3 straight years at $51 million before having the chance to opt out. But he could also opt in and fully cash in on the extent of this deal. So this will carry him through at least age 31, possibly age 35. Other big signings, we have several position players. Ezekiel Tovar also to the Mets, and C.J. Abrams, there's one, 6 years, $34.3 million to go to Houston. So he's playing first base these days, but super utility player, still pretty good on the base paths. He will go to Houston. Let's try to find some other big deals here. Riley Green also going to Philly. Philly big spenders here. 4 years, $42.5 for the outfielder. Still a 65 grade player at just 30 years old. Big offseason for Philly. They're looking to compete in the AL East. We got Hunter Green going to Detroit. We reviewed that earlier. Reed Detmers returns to Toronto on a 4-year deal. Jackson Holliday also goes to Houston on an 8-year, $55.1 million deal. I believe this is actually the highest contract I've seen awarded in this game. So coming off of the torn labrum, I think he is fragile these days, but 27 years old. Is this fully guaranteed? No, he has an opt-out after age 31, and it goes up to 59 mil per season. Oh my gosh. So that's a big deal. We lost our place here, but the international free agents also went. Aito Toda, 4 years to Boston. Jose Mojica, we were never going to be able to afford him. He goes for 51.8 over 6 years to the Mets. So Mets cashing in, even though they chose to jettison Paul Skeens. The outfielder from Taipei also signs a $39 million annual deal to go to Cleveland. So they've doubled up on international outfielders in recent years. Ryan Nelson, big 4-year contract to go to Kansas City. And, I think that is, I think that's all. But Toronto gets Alejandro Kirk on a $109 million deal, also bringing in Justin Steele on a modest 3-year deal. There's our Nick Gonzalez contract to Vegas. Dustin May goes to Colorado, where he should be a great fit. 5 years, $127 million. Kyle Tucker to Texas, just 2 years, $38.8 million. Tucker now 34 and kind of just a league average hitter. Casey Mize, 5 years, $177. These contracts are crazy. He also goes to Boston. And finally, New York gets Louis Varland for $50.8 million a year. Can you guys imagine if Louis Varland were to sign a contract for $52 million of annual value? That would be crazy. That would be crazy, and he's just a 55. He's just a 55 grade guy, and he's getting paid like that. So, this is why we build our system full of young guys. This is why we are hesitant to hand out contracts. If you go to our salary page, the highest we're paying a player is $18 million. So that's why we're a well-respected GM. But let's get to DevLab results. I won't keep you waiting too much longer. As is tradition, we're going to do it live, and you'll get my genuine reaction. We have to play this game here, and hopefully we escape with no injuries. So I'm going to go ahead and advance until tomorrow. And here we go. Oh, we have a poor result for Ben Small. Oh, no. Outstanding result for Gabe Ariano, I'm seeing, though. No improvement on the pitch movement for Carlos Mateo. We had tried to tap into that. It looks like he actually regressed a bit here, so that's no good. Stamina, losing a tick of velocity. So he may be looking to go down to setup role, and we give the closing spot to Edwin Diaz. I don't know. It's a little bit to be determined, but that's not ideal. No bat speed improvement for Elian Pena. Pitch movement improves for Tony Granger. Current rating improves by 5. That's pretty big time. Looks like he also got a bump in stamina as well, and his velo ticked up. So lots to like here for Tony Granger. He has 70 stamina. Oh my gosh. He's knocking on the door. I don't know that he contributes for us this season, but I definitely want to get him up ASAP. This is the one that could be bad. Oh no, this is not good. Losing BABIP by 5. Current power drops by 5 as well. Really, really tough. It looked like his gap power improved at some point during the offseason, and his defensive ratings did as well. He's the number 5 prospect. We got screwed with Dan Beebe very early in the series, and now we are seeing similar things with Ben Small here. Really disappointing result to lose out on 5 points of raw power and 5 on the BABIP. So at least it didn't damage his potential, or so it says. It's only current regression, so hopefully he can rediscover that and kind of build back up. But Bill Bumgarner, no changes to control. Improvement for Merlin. Javi Ruiz gets another outstanding result. His second consecutive outstanding result. His current and potential I ratings both improved by 5. He now has 40 grade I. And, he's still just 18, so we're keeping him in the DSL for now, where he should absolutely destroy down here this season. And then I think once the DSL league wraps, we will push him to A-ball when he will be 19 years old. He'll get a taste of full season A-ball at the very end of the season. So really awesome program there. No changes for Kung Fu Panda. No changes for Mario Hernandez either. Bill Zimmerman increases his current movement rating by 5. So I had mentioned Zimmerman as a potential bullpen option for us, and he looks major league ready, you guys. He's got the 50 grade movement. Control is borderline. Sinker is a little subpar, but he's got 2 80 grade pitches. I don't like that he doesn't have anything with break to it. I guess the cutter somewhat does, but no slider or curve, so he's kind of a little exposed against left-handed batters, I guess. He doesn't really have an out pitch against them, and he still just has 20 stamina. So I think there's definitely improvement to be made with him. We'll try to maybe train some more stamina into him, but great program. And then outstanding for 20, dude. Current gap rating improves by 20 for Gabe Ariano. Potential improves by less than 5, but current improves by 20. So he has 80 grade generational gap power, and he's 21. It looks like his current got a full 10-point jump here. I don't know if it'll be reflected at a later date, or if this is accurate to what his new ratings are. But he is a major league quality bat already. He just really lacks plate discipline and true raw power, but he's a switch hitting outfielder that we signed as an international free agent in 2027, at this point 4 seasons ago, and it's going to be difficult to keep him off the field. So he's currently slotted to play at AA, but he's obviously capable at AAA as well. I think it's likely he just splits half and half this season, and it's possible he factors for us down the road. So really crazy, mixed results here. I'm really glad we got a successful result with Tony Granger. Javi Ruiz obviously was big, and this Ariano result is crazy. But I don't know. I would be willing to, sacrifice it all if Ben Small would have just had a successful program with us. It's heartbreaking to see. We just had him on a simple gap power program, and he loses, both contact and raw power. So he still grades out positively, but I don't know. It's kind of tough. I feel like he may never develop into the power profile that we once expected out of him. So maybe we need to go into this development training plan and dial back the defense, up the power, try to optimize that. But I'm going to leave you guys here. Next time I check in, it will be opening day of the 2031 season. We will review preseason projections and actually start advancing through the season. Like I mentioned, I'm going to try to move through the games a little bit more quickly, so it's possible we handle the majority of the first half in next episode. So look forward to seeing you return then. As always, I thank you for watching. If you have any thoughts on our offseason, please leave them down below, and I will catch you in the next video.